So let's break this down because I think a lot of times when people say things, we just kind of take it, right? And like for what it is, surface level. And on its surface, that pissed off a lot of people. That pissed me off too. But let's go beneath it, right? So why is he saying, "Hey, this is an opportunity"? He's saying this is the situation that you're in. You're characterizing this as a negative, but it's actually a positive. And what he's saying is that you should be okay. You understand, you should be okay with the situation. Right now, you feel as though you're being mistreated. That's how a lot of the fighters feel. And what we're saying is you need to be quiet, shut up and fight because this is an opportunity. Out of my supreme benevolence, I am giving this to you, and you're being disrespectful by not being happy at the gift. It's like, no, this is a business. This is a career. This is how people feed their families. It's not a charity case, right? They work hard and they earn this position. And so I think it's not just insensitive, it's not just wrong, but I think it's highly inappropriate and offensive, right? I should just take what you give me without advocating for myself. It's yeah, that one pissed me off too. That was wild. But I think it really goes into the mentality that they have as it relates to the fighters. I mean, my initial thought was, I hope this is fake news. I I sincerely hope this isn't true. But man, if that is true, I mean, I think it just comes down to value, right? What are our values? Who do we value? Because the ring girls, they have a role in this, right? It's not that they're not a part of the team. They do have a role. But if we think about value in terms of dollars, who's more valuable, the fighter or the ring girl, right? Another thing is, like, who needs it more? Because if after a ring girl retires, her body's going to look a lot different from a fighter who has 10 years of abuse on it, right? And I think we need to factor in all of those types of things when we're making these calculations. And you have to remember, MMA in the States is a really young sport, just started in the 90s. And I mean, we all have to thank Dana for that. He's the one who pushed that forward in an incredible way against all odds. And I think there's a lot of maturity that has to happen from the business side as it relates to the fighters. Because when it was a small organization and UFC was really, really scrappy, they approached it in one way. Hey, we can't pay you guys. We don't have the money. We're just making this up as we go along. Now we're a company worth billions, or at least over a billion. We're an established company. We have a massive group of employees working for us and a massive media team, right? And so I think the mentality of the organization has evolved, but the mentality of the fighter has not. Because a lot of times the fighters just say, "Listen, I'm happy to be here. This is a fantastic opportunity. I don't know what else I would do if I didn't have this. So this is just great." And if you have that happy to be here type of mentality, and the majority of the roster has that type of mentality, it's going to be easy to create those habits where the company says, "I'm going to take advantage of you because I know the vast majority of you will take what you're given." I think for the fighters, though, I think that presents a really unique negotiation opportunity, right? Because forming a fighters union, that's tough. That's tough for a number of legal reasons. Because I think that's the obvious answer. You with NBA, you have the Players Association. Every major organization, every major sports organization has something like that. But with the UFC, you're independent contractors, and so the U.S. just came down. Actually, I think it was earlier this year with some more difficult regulations that make it harder for independent contractors to unionize. So that's a number. That's a problem. So you need to get I think legally the hurdle is number one, we can't unionize. And number two, we're not considered employees. Those are the two biggest legal hurdles. But when it comes to the Reebok deal, I think that's a unique opportunity. And it's a faster one too, because if you're trying to sue people, that takes a lot of time. But that deal comes to an end this year. I think we should try to focus on that. And here's the thing. I think about it like leverage and negotiation. I think about it in terms of positioning. MMA, we have positioning too, right? And so with the majority of these fighters, when they're entering the UFC, it's like they're entering the UFC in full mount. you're not standing. You're not both standing. You're in full mount. So you have to tap the strikes or submit very quickly. That's the only option. And then let's think about Jorge Masvidal, John Jones, Cormier, Connor. And so those are big name fighters too. And we're seeing there's still a limit to the amount that the UFC is willing to negotiate. Because let's say they manage to get to their feet, sticking with this metaphor. They managed to get to their feet. And now it seems like we're even. Well, hey, UFC was just laying on top of you for 2 rounds. We have one more round, so we'll just stall it out, and then we'll win a boring decision because Father Time is undefeated. You're going to, if you're at your prime, eventually you're going to get past it. Now you have less negotiation leverage. So again, even if you're a massive star in the UFC, you're still going to struggle negotiation wise because the UFC will just say, if you don't want it, we'll replace you. And that's exactly what they did to Jorge. Yeah, I think there's a lot of room for opportunity, a room for growth. And I'd love to see it happen. And being one of the only sports that's back right now, it's a unique opportunity for the fighters to have eyes on what it is they're doing. The sport's growing in popularity every single time. I mean, Dana, again, kudos to him. He's putting on some insane fights in the middle of a pandemic and doing it safely. He caught a lot of flack for that, but he's doing it safely. And so the UFC is growing in the midst of this turmoil, but also fighter popularity is growing too. So again, unique opportunity for the fighters to come together and try to form a solution. Because if we're able to get through this, of course, it's going to be a tough fight. I mean, they're fighters; they know how fights work, right? It's going to be tough, but if we're able to come out the other side with more financial opportunities, man, I think it's worth it.